Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host Omar Khalid. But this is the 21st of November 2023, and we have lots to discuss with you. So without further ado, these are the stories that we'll be highlighting in the course of the show. We'll begin with the latest as far as the war, the conflict in Gaza, in Palestine is concerned. Today is day 46 of that conflict, and a lot of has been happening as far as the atrocities are concerned. They continue. The number of casualties continues to increase. And of course, the bombardments on the different hospitals also, whether it be the Al-Shifa hospital or the Indonesian hospital, also continue. Israel says there are traces of Hamas and their activities in the hospitals. No such trace has officially been found or has been located as yet. This said, there is a lot of activity on the diplomatic front as well, with the different congregation of Islamic countries that are going from one important international post to the other. They began with China, with the People's Republic of China, where they met with Wang Yi. Then they've gone to Russia, and they've met with the Russian leadership as well, as to discuss ways and means to come out of the current conflict. The fact also remains that a lot of countries are siding with Israel as we speak. The fact also remains that the world needs and desires peace, as has been enunciated through the different protests that have gone on in different important capitals of the world. And the important thing is that with the passing days, with the lack of resources that the people in Gaza are confronted with, whether it be in the form of food, water, electricity, or other food supplies, and of course a dearth of resources at the different hospitals as well, we can see many more casualties in the days to come. This is going to be our first story. A truce also is apparently on the front, and there might be some kind of a truce between Hamas and Israel. Whether and when this happens, we'll be highlighting that as well. This, of course, truce is being mediated by Qatar. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns climate change and the increase in temperatures across the world. The United Nations says in a report that the Earth is on track for a catastrophic rise of 2.9 degrees Celsius. We all remember we've highlighted the 1.5 degrees Celsius that it can already create havoc with the world, and with the temperatures, if they increase twice as that means 2.9 degrees Celsius. That is going to create an environment, a world hitherto seen in the past as well. The issues that already the world is confronted with, the climate issues, will add to those wows, and it might be very difficult for people to live in this world by the end of the century. Then we'll be going to talk about Pakistan Air Force passing out parade that happened at the Asghar Khan Academy as well. The Prime Minister, the caretaker Prime Minister also, Anwar Kakar Sahab, was there as a chief guest on the occasion. He said no peace is possible without the settlement of the Kashmir issue. He also said that Pakistan desires to maintain friendly ties with all the countries. He also said that Pakistan will not indulge in any arms race. Important comments and important venue for this address. We are going to talk about that in our third story. Our last story concerns the miners that are trapped under rubble since the last 10 days. India has to date failed to rescue these workers that are trapped in a tunnel. The first visuals of these workers has emerged, but the fact remains that there's still much to be done as far as helping these people is concerned. Whether that help will come in the coming hours or the coming days, that only time will tell, and we'll be highlighting that as well. Let's begin with our first story, and that concerns what is happening in Gaza, in Palestine. 46 days since this conflict began, and 46 days since Israel has started and continues its barbarities on the people, the hapless women, children, and the elderly in Gaza, on the pretext of saying that it is going to hunt out all the Hamas. But in this whole exercise of hunting down Hamas, it has killed more than 11,000 people and injured scores of others. And of course, let's not even go towards the lack of facilities that are present there, and a deliberate lack of facilities that is being an atmosphere that is being created by Palestine. We've been joined by Naveed Aman Khan Sahab. He's a senior analyst, and he joins us in the studios. Naveed Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Naveed Sahab, let's begin on some positive note. This truce that Hamas is talking about, this truce that is being mediated by Qatar, this truce that a lot of people are saying is really close to being inked. How optimistic are you about this truce?
Yes, I'm very much optimistic that at this stage, at least at this stage, after 1.5 months of this barbarism, this development has come out, and the role of Qatar will be very important in this regard. I think it should have been far earlier at the start. When the war started, within 1 week, I think the international community should have moved towards this settlement or towards the solution of this issue. But nevertheless, it has now started. I hope that something very concrete and positive will come out for the relief of the Gazans who are really deprived of everything. You name everything which a human being needs, they have nothing with them.
Naveed Saab, the health ministry, the Palestinian health ministry says that all the hospitals in northern Gaza are now out of service. We all know what happened to Al-Shifa. We all know what happened to the Indonesian hospital as well, with the forces bombarding those hospitals and entering those hospitals and trying to, cut off supplies to those who are in need. What kind of future do you see? Do you feel some kind of respite might come as far as those who are in need of urgent medical help is concerned?
It should be. I mean, if you don't provide such sort of facilities or the medical aid or food to Gazans, it will be a big tragedy. The international community will have to move towards Palestine to rescue the Palestinians, not only for food, but also for medical aid or treatment, and even the reconstruction of the infrastructure, which is destroyed completely. You can say that Gaza and some part of the West Bank is also destroyed, has turned into debris. So that reconstruction is very important. As soon as the solution is found, the settlement is done, or the solution is made, the reconstruction will be very much important for the entire community, for the entire world, especially the Muslim world.
Naveed Saab, Egypt says that the South Gaza bombing is aimed at forcing residents to leave and to enter neighboring countries such as Egypt, such as Jordan and other countries. Do you feel this is a deliberate attempt by, of course, Israel to vacate as much land as possible? They are taking this opportunity to vacate as much of land in Gaza as possible so that they can then encrust their own people in those lands and then occupy those lands completely.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the Israeli forces and the politicians like Netanyahu, it's their strategy to dismantle or to disperse the Gazans from Gaza or from the West Bank, and they want those Palestinians to move from Gaza Strip towards either Egypt or any other country, or they want to get that piece of land vacated just to settle the Israelis or the Jews in that Gaza part, as they have done in past. They have settled those Jews in Palestinian land, and now they are again opting that strategy which they have been opting decades back to settle the Jews in Gaza. I think it will be very criminal. It will be very, very sad thing on the part of Gaza.
All right. A survey that was recently made by the Ramallah-based Arab World for Research and Development finds that 98% of Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip will not forgive, nor will they forget Israel's onslaught of Gaza. It also found that 65% perceived the war as targeting all Palestinians. 18% said it was a war between Israel and Hamas. Only 18% said it is actually a war between Israel and Hamas. Also, 75% support to some extent the October attack by Hamas. Only 22% expect a return of the Palestinian Authority to Gaza in the war's aftermath. Also, 98% say their support for a two-state solution has declined. This is the most important part that I take out of this poll. 98% of people say their support for a two-state solution to the conflict has declined. What happens now to this two-state solution if the majority of the people are not in favor of it?
Two-state solution is the only solution of this issue. If this solution is not given to the Palestinians, this issue will never end, and the peace will never return. Better to make that two-state solution for the good of that region, for the good of the Palestinians, and for the peace of the region. I mean, this is now spilling over from that region towards Jordan to Lebanon or many other parts, it will never end unless you go for that peaceful solution, which is, I mean, according to the wills and the wishes of Palestinians. If the Israelis have the right to live a peaceful life in Israel, Palestinians have also the right, same right to live peaceful and prosperous life in Palestine. They are neighbors, and can't they live peacefully? I think, being neighbors, they can live very peacefully. There is nothing wrong. The conflicts emerges, and the conflicts, are resolved elsewhere in the world. This conflict can also be resolved in Middle East, and both of the nations can peacefully live very good neighbors.
But Naveed Sahab, this said the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency says almost 1.7 million people, 1.7 million people have been displaced across the Gaza Strip since the 7th of October. Will these people ever return?
It is very difficult. You know, those who have lost their fellow relatives, their children, or the ladies, many are missing. Those who are numbered, we can count 12,000. I mean, there are many which are not counted yet. And those who have lost their properties, everything is collapsed. They have nothing remain back in their hands, and they are forced to leave that place towards either Egypt or to any other country. They need to come back. They need to be, the authorities need to settle them back in their homeland. They should not be withering any part in any part of the world. They have their piece of land, that is Palestine, and they have the right to live there. They need not be homeless. The international community, like United Nations in particular, should play its role to settle them back in, though it is very difficult now. 1.7 million is a big number, but we'll have to intervene and we'll have to work out. The entire world can do it. I mean, it is not doable. It is doable.
All right. If it is doable, there are also efforts from different quarters across the world, especially from the Islamic countries, to try to find a solution to this. We all know that representatives from Egypt, Indonesia, Jordan, Palestine, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have joined hands with the OIC as well. There's Secretary General of the OIC, Hussein Brahim Taha, Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rehman Al Thani, that are all getting together, and they went to the Chinese side first. They talked to Wang Yi, and then they have now gone to Russia. Russia is also trying hard to mediate in this conflict. Do you feel the countries involved now, these Islamic countries, can maybe pave the way for a solution, a long-term solution?
Definitely. This is very good and positive move, and I'm very much optimistic of the solution which will come out, I think, with the move of the visit of the foreign ministers of a Muslim world to China. And they have negotiated with the Chinese foreign minister. Definitely, Chinese foreign minister has his own, integrity and influence in the entire world. And then they have moved to have negotiations with the Russian foreign minister. Definitely, it will also work. And from there, they will, travel towards European and the American foreign ministers as well. It should have been far earlier. But nevertheless, it is now moved. It's a very good development, and I think this development will work out.
All right. You talked about China. You know, I'd like to refer to a 3-point proposal that has been made by Xi Jinping, the Chinese president. He's calling for a ceasefire to realize lasting peace and security. He talks about all the parties in the conflicts that should immediately cease fire and hostilities, stop all violence and attack targeting civilians, and release civilian detainees to avoid more loss of lives and suffering. This was said by Xi Jinping at the BRICS Extraordinary Virtual Summit that was held on this very important issue. How do you see these 3 points? Do you feel these 3 points are achievable, maintainable?
Yes, this is workable, achievable, maintainable. And the formula of Xi Jinping, if you go in the past, the formula of Xi Jinping is based on life and prosperity. China and Xi Jinping both do not believe in the conflicts or intentions or in poverty or destruction. The myth of the Chinese prosperity is based on the resolution of the international issues. And he has given very good, program or agenda or the points to resolve this issue based on his 3 points. That those 3 points are, 100% doable.
Xi Jinping also talks about the humanitarian relief for the people in Gaza. We all know there's a dearth of water, food, electricity, and other essential items, even the medicines that are not available to those who are in the hospitals, what is left of the hospitals in Gaza. Now, there are reports that 50 trucks carrying food and medical supplies have entered the enclave while the Rafah crossing. But Xi Jinping talks about expanding humanitarian aid to the people in Gaza and stop the forced relocation and the cutoff of water, electricity, and the oil. Do you feel what more can be done so that it actually happens? The statements are excellent. I really hope that this happens. But which are the countries that will be extremely, whose role will be extremely important for these points to be applicable in action?
The most important thing is ceasefire. More important than to supply food or to supply medicine. Yes, it is the need of the Gazans. Food is important for them, electricity is important, for treatment is important, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that on one end, Israel continue bombing or barbarism on the Palestinians, and on the other end, the international community start sending food for them. Yes, it is important on both ends, but the most important is to go for complete and immediate ceasefire. Ceasefire means to halt the hands of Israel for who is continuing barbarism against Palestinians. This is the only solution. Definitely, the second question is who else can intervene and play important role? Yes, definitely. America is the only important country in the region who can play very, very important role for the solution of this issue and for the stop of this barbarism from Israel to Palestine. And on the other hand, Great Britain, yes, France, Saudi Arabia is playing a very important role, definitely. UAE is playing, but UAE will have to enhance its role manifold, and China, America. The entire world should intervene. One thing is very important, Khalid, that is wherever such tragedy occurs, like in Ukraine or in Kashmir or in Palestine, it is the obligation of international community to intervene wherever it is.
Final question, we've got our last minute as far as the story is concerned. Do you feel this conflict is going to escalate in the Middle East?
It can, if it is not resolved at this stage. After 1.5 months, it will escalate and it will spill over, and it will even affect the economy of the entire world, and it will definitely we will feel its heat even in Pakistan as far as the economy is concerned. So the earlier the better. I mean, 1.5 months is gone and the solution is not yet met. It will have to be. It should have to be gained at this stage. 1.5 months is too long. I mean.
Right. Of course it is 46 days, and we don't see any respite as of yet. We don't see Israel stopping its actions as far as the killing of the people are concerned.
Entire world. It is the obligation of the entire world to intervene wherever such situation occurs. I mean, the OIC is there, the African Union, the European Union, the SAARC, the ASEAN, United Nations. There are many, many forums in the world, but all of them are ineffective. The forums need to be effective.
I think that is very important.
The international community will have to make these forums effective to resolve the solutions. These forums are for the resolution of the
exactly. That is why they were created in the first place. Thank you very much, Naveed Aman Khan Sahab, to have joined us. Effectiveness of international organizations, ladies and gentlemen, like the United Nations and other is of paramount importance. Whatever resolutions have been passed, whether it be for extended humanitarian pauses or in the future in the ceasefire, if such a resolution is ultimately passed, the fact remains that this has to be implemented in letter and spirit, and Israel needs to be forced to have these resolutions implemented. Without the implementation of these solutions, we cannot find a solution to this crisis that is with every passing day, with every passing minute, gaining more and more momentum for the West. Let's come to our next story, and that concerns climate change, ladies and gentlemen. And this report, which doesn't come as a surprise by the United Nations, that talks about the Earth that is on track for a catastrophic temperature rise of 2.9 degrees Celsius. The United Nations report also talks about global warming that could reach 3 degrees Celsius despite different efforts. This report by the UNEP also talks about the world that needs to continue to pump greenhouse gases. The COP28 that is about to happen in Abu Dhabi on the 30th of November is also, of course, extremely important in this context. Whether the important talks will lead to resolutions, will lead to solutions that would pave the way for a world that is devoid of all the catastrophic changes that climate change is putting them into. Pakistan is a major example when it comes to floods. We've seen the floods, we've seen the earthquakes, we've seen the gulfs as well. Other countries across the world are also feeling the wrath as far as climate change and the effects are concerned. We also see on one hand there is excess of water, on the other hand there is no water. So the thing is that climate change, through whether it be with increase in temperatures, whether it be through other phenomena, whether it be the El Nino phenomenon as well, is creating havoc, and it is a responsibility of the world that needs to do something, come up with not only solutions but act on those solutions in order to make this world a better place to live in, especially for the generations to come. We've been joined by Sarmad Iqbal, Head of Policy, International Rescue Committee. Sarmad, had been some time that we had discussed climate change as you had come to the studio, so welcome back to Newsroom.
Thank you very much for having me back, and
it's a pleasure. The pleasure is all ours.
It's a high time to speak about climate change.
Exactly.
And
with COP28 on the horizon, I think it's extremely important that we highlight as much as we can so that the people who are listening to it put that as part of their agenda as well. The temperature rise, the UNEP report that has come out of 2.9 or 3 degrees Celsius increase. This is devastating. We were already so afraid with a 1.5 degrees Celsius increase. Now that we are talking of 2.9 degrees or 3 degrees, this doesn't seem manageable. What happens if this continues at the same pace? Will our future generations be able to live properly in a world?
Well, I would say we have outshined ourselves.
Not for the better.
And not for the better, of course. But it's like we have exceeded the expectations that we had for ourselves. Like we wanted to limit ourselves to 2 degree and 1.5 degree. However, we just got over that in totality. However, the report that has come out, the UNEP, it's really an alarming thing. We are seeing devastation happen. The COP is happening in Dubai. Look at the condition of Dubai. Erratic rains. The water levels are rising. It's urban flooding happening.
And we see what has happened once or twice in the last few weeks. We've seen examples of that.
Exactly. And if we are not serious enough to take measures in terms of reducing our carbon emissions or greenhouse gas emissions, we're going to see more and more of it, and in devastating forms as well. With huge amounts of people being affected, with huge amounts of challenges surmounting everything, with agricultures being affected, with businesses being affected, with industry being affected. The ones that are polluting the environment, they're going to suffer the most.
You know, when you talk of countries, let's talk about Brazil that has recorded its hottest ever temperature. There are heat waves in the country. There are a lot of questions around drought. In different parts of the world. Even Pakistan, there was a report that came out some time back that talked about drought in Pakistan in the year 2025. We've just encountered floods last year, and the report was saying in 2025 Pakistan might encounter droughts. On whose shoulders should we put the responsibility?
It's a collective responsibility, I would say. The governance, the businesses, the economic leaders, the industry, the corporates, and us and individuals as well. Because all of us are contributing in one way or the other to every devastation that is upon us now. If you look at the changing weather patterns, did
we not
do it? Were we not cause of it?
We were always the cause of it.
We are the cause of it. So it's the human face to the devastation, but we're not putting the human face to the devastation. That's the issue. We are blaming the Mother Nature for everything. But Mother Nature is taking a toll. Why? Because of our bad practices.
Mother Nature is reacting to what we've been doing since the last few decades.
Exactly. And you can see that your glaciers are melting at a very rapid pace. We are seeing cracks in the North Pole as well. in the icebergs, they're forming, and the water level is rising, which is going to be affecting the clean water supply to the nations, to the countries, and even in Pakistan as well. If our freshwater reservoirs melt at a very rapid pace, it's going to be droughts all across. And Pakistan is a very diverse, has a very diverse ecological patterns in the country. So on the one hand, we'll be facing erratic rains. On the other hand, we won't have any rains in other parts of the country, which will lead to droughts, and in other areas, standing crops being destroyed. So we are going to be faced with hunger challenges in the coming years if we are not serious enough to take this challenge. We were the case study as loss and damage in the last COP, but what happened? The world has not shown seriousness to the loss and damage.
Because the world is engulfed in other socio-political or geostrategic issues of their own. But the fact is that this is a very important geostrategic, geoeconomic, geopolitical issue that needs to be tackled collectively. As you yourself said, collectively is to do something collectively is the key word. And until and unless you don't do things collectively, whether it be to end conflicts in the world or to end issues caused by the climate change, nothing will happen.
Well, it's a collective effort, but at the same time, we need to pinpoint the responsibility on people who are polluting the earth. And we had to take actions for that. But unfortunately, we're not. That's the biggest challenge that we're faced with. Globally, what are the results of COPs that have happened so far? And this year, the COP that is happening, it's basically a culmination of the review that has to take place every 5 years with regards to our practices, with regards to our commitments at COP, with regards to what we want to see and what we want to limit and what we want to increase. So it's like all of it is, we're all looking at the COP28 with eagerness in terms of the commitments, and then how they're going to feed into the nationally determined contributors in terms of our planning and execution and programs and stuff. So it's a lot of things that are interconnected, and we really need to act seriously in terms of what we say, how we do, what we plan, how we execute.
When you talk of interconnectivity, there are so many other factors that contribute to climate change. Pollution, you talked about pollution. Let's look at what is happening in New Delhi, in Kolkata, in Mumbai, in Lahore. It has been declared one of the worst cities in the world as far as air pollution is concerned, and we are contributing to this air pollution directly or indirectly. Let's refer to the third round of United Nations negotiations that happened in Kenya to deliver the world's first treaty to control plastic pollution. It shows that more than 500 proposals from governments, participants have happened. But are these proposals enough? Plastic pollution, so many people talk about it, but nobody really in actuality takes care of plastic pollution. This is just one of the different factors.
Your world's oxygen comes from the blue economy, from the seas. Your seas are being polluted by plastic. Your marine life is dying because of plastic. We as humans are inhaling plastic. There are multitude of reports that have come out talking about the impacts of plastic in every form on human health, on animal health, on agricultural farmlands, on oceans, on changing water courses. There's a lot that we need to look into.
400 million tons of waste every year.
Yes.
400 million tons, you can't even imagine how much that comes out to be. But look at the effect it has on our climate, on our pollution, on our people.
But do we have recycling plants to actually recycle and reuse those plastic bottles or plastic materials? And then there is there's a talk about biodegradable material and non-biodegradable material. Then there is another talk of plastic material being used in the health industry. Can it be recycled or not? Will it contribute to expanding some kind of disease or sporadic spread of other infectious issues? So I don't know.
Are we researching on that? Are we researching on that?
That's a very good question. But maybe we are, maybe we are not.
All right, let's talk about this report that has come out on the wealthy nations that could provide 100 of the world's most vulnerable countries a combined $25 billion in annual protection against climate disasters for as little as 10 million per nation. This was a research that came out today. Again, will this research be applicable? Will that actually happen? We've seen so many, proposals, so many foundations being put in different COPs in the past as well. But what happened at the end of the day?
When we refer to this report, we, I think, need to refer to the first page where there is a disclaimer that all the results and findings of this report are based on the scientific evidence that was reviewed and all these findings are according to the observations generated by the scientists or the researchers. So UNEP has kind of put in a disclaimer that they own this report, but maybe they have something that comes out and they won't be able to respond to it, which makes me question some of the things, because science is an evolving thing. And you can't be 100% definite on
and you know
the
the
science
way
results.
the pollution is going and the way climate change is wreaking havoc, those findings are changing with every passing month. We have new things that come out, the same things that we were adapting. I mean, just look at the temperature increase. We were looking at 1.5, say 2, really quote unquote. Now we are looking at 2.9, 3. A couple of months down the drain, we might be looking at 3.5 to 4.
Well, the actual figures would increase every year. We have, as I said, we have outshined in a negative way, and we have not lived up to our commitments for the past couple of decades now. And the industrial revolution, and then now the heat waves, the patterns of disasters, the global warming, everything is on the rise, on the high side of it. How do we expect to control it if we are not serious about it? The UNEP report talks a lot about the impacts that would happen, the challenges that we are facing, the malpractices that we are contributing to, the issues that are there. However, they're also talking about the role of national governments and the global community at the same time. But I don't feel that there's a sync in the planning of national government with the global audience and the global audience's thought process or strategic vision.
But why is there a dearth of sync? That is what I also fail to understand. We are intelligent people, we are well read. Why is then there a lack of sync?
Well, the issue is that when your house is on fire, you won't go and like put down the fire in the other person's house. You'll put down the fire in your own house. That's what's happening to the globe right now. The people who were committing to escalating the proper positive measures, which are to reduce the impacts of climate change on other countries, they have their own houses on fire. The developed world is also suffering from climate impacts. They are seeing wildfires, they are seeing gulfs, they are seeing other kinds of erratic behaviors in the weather. They are seeing floods, they are seeing sea level rises, they are seeing a lot of other issues that they have to tackle. So their priority becomes their own country. That is why the funds won't come.
But this is one thing to have to prioritize your country, but then do the needful in your country. People are not even doing the needful in their own country, where we have seen so many effects. Pakistan is grappled with an economic issue because of which it is doing as much as it can, where it could have done much more, where so many pledges were made at the COPs. And what happens? What happens to those pledges? How much percentage of those pledges were actually realized?
But the issue is, like, the COP commitments are there. It's all about the bureaucratic impediments that fall in the way of its execution. So far, we haven't been able to earmark a loss and damage fund proper disbursement mechanism. The money has gone to the international bank. How and what modalities of those acquisition are defined? How will they be defined? Will they be grants given to the countries? Will they be loans extended to the countries? I don't know. We are still yet to.
Well, there's a report that says that 10 million per year could be given to every single country, to the 100 countries that are most vulnerable, and Pakistan is one of the 10 most vulnerable countries. But what happens to the money? I mean, is the actual money coming? Look at the pledges that were made at COP27. What happened?
Well, that's the biggest challenge. That's what I'm saying. The realization of the commitments is yet to be determined again at this COP.
But how do you determine those pledges? And how do you determine the money? How do you determine to help the countries who are in need?
Well, we need to actually establish a tracking mechanism where we are now talking about the commitments, the actions which are contributing to honoring those commitments, and it shouldn't be a lip service at the COP this year. Because
but isn't it what is happening? As far this is a good word that you use, lip service. I love the reports, I love the debates, but we can make as much effort as we can, but unless they are not implemented, what happens?
Well, that's the thing. That is where the seriousness of the government comes in, seriousness of the countries come in, and when they are sitting at COP on the negotiation tables, they should be very articulate, very clear in terms of how the implementation is going to take place, how the money is going to reach the devastated countries, so that they can plan accordingly. Otherwise, lip service, commitments, pledges will just remain words on paper.
Sarmad, there's another angle to it, lip service, another angle to it. Let's come back to plastic pollution. There's another report that has come out that talks about less than 10% of plastic waste is being recycled. So many of COPs have dedicated a huge part of their meetings on recycling, on plastic pollution. But why can't we do the needful? There are mechanisms that can easily be applied to recycle waste. Many of the countries are actually following it in letter and principle. I have South Korea for an example, but the fact is, why can't the world just follow a certain pattern?
Well, it's like if you look at the recycled waste or the waste the plastic waste that comes in or that is being generated across the globe. Majority of them are being generated in least development countries or middle income countries which are on the path to development. And then once they are using that, there's recyclable waste there, but the demand and supply factor is also another factor. Your supply is huge, but the industry that has to cater to this issue or this recycling is very limited capacity.
All right, let's come to United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who calls for a dramatic climate action at these COP28 talks. When you talk of dramatic action, what are you looking forward to? What are your expectations?
As a climate campaigner, as a person who's seeking or who's asking for climate justice, I believe one core issue is commitment to realization, and not just words but actions. This is what I'm looking at.
Antonio Guterres also talks of failure of leadership, betrayal of the vulnerable, massive missed opportunity. These are three things that pinch very hard, but is it a global phenomenon, these three issues, failure of leadership, betrayal of the vulnerable, massive missed opportunity, or are these certain particular cases, without naming countries, which are causing a rebound effect on others?
Well, it's like as the UN report, one of the reports said that we are out of roads to limit the warming, which means that we are at the end of the road, and if we don't do anything about it, we are going to be suffering a very hard blow, which we are seeing. These erratic rains, these river floodings, these abrupt wildfires, these changing weather patterns, these heat waves, this is all giving us indication that we are close to the end. We are close to the end of the road. We need to take action. Otherwise, we are going to be on the off-road, and there's not going to be a good ride.
Mother Nature, it can be extremely cruel if you don't take care of it. The 2015 Paris Agreement, what happened to it?
It's a review this year. It's a review this year, and we really look forward to it being critically reviewed and looking at all the commitments that were made in line with the Paris Agreement, and then how things move forward. That's why I'm saying I'm using a very, very articulate word, lip service, because so far if we as individuals or independent people monitor that whole paradigm since 2015 till now, what has changed?
Of course, I agree. But I would also come back to the UNEP report, and I'll also put some blame on the G20 countries. This is what the UNEP chief Inger Anderson says, that it was crucial that the G20 nations who are together responsible for about 80%, and I'm quoting him, responsible for about 80% of emissions, step up and lead on reductions, but he also said that some were in a snooze mode. How can we take them out of this so-called quote-unquote snooze mode?
Well, I think our voice, our stance, our clear call for action is going to be a vibration for these people to come out of their snooze mode. But at the same time, if they're intelligent enough and they're seeing the indicators which are prevalent right now, and the Mother Nature is showing them to us, they have to come out of the snooze mode and take action. Otherwise, there is no coming back, and it's for everyone.
Finally, Sarmad, will you be attending COP28?
looking forward to it.
Okay, if you are attending, what are your expectations?
Well, as I said, we're looking at how the countries realize their commitment, what would be the plans in the upcoming years, what would be the NDC inputs coming out of that, so that the country of Pakistan and other countries can revise their NDCs accordingly.
And the review of the 2015 agreement.
Yes.
That is very important
That is
as well.
very important.
But the whole thing boils down to money, doesn't it? You know, whether the important nations are ready to dole out that money to those who are in need and those who are the most affected because of climate change, because of many of the effects that they are behind. You know,
money, technology transfer, commitment, all these things can work if there is a will to it.
Will, I think I'll take that key word from it. The will, whether it be at COP28 or whether it be at the review of the Paris Agreement, or whether it be a will by the G20 nations or by all the other leaders that will be present at COP28. This is what we will be looking forward to, and I'm sure you will also be looking forward to that as well. Thank you very much, Sarmad Iqbal, Head of Policy International Rescue Committee. Kindly stay on with us. We're just about to finish the show in about 2 minutes. Let's begin with our third story, and that concerns Pakistan, that desires to maintain friendly relations with all countries. That was said by our caretaker Prime Minister Mahbub Kakar Saab while he was, of course, addressing the passing out parade of the Pakistan Air Force Asghar Khan Academy in Visalpur. He said that our desire for peace must not be understood as our weakness. He also said there can be no peace without a just settlement of the Kashmir issue. He also congratulated the graduating cadets, and he said that they carry the hopes of our nation forward. He said Pakistan will not indulge in any arms race, but would continue to enhance our capabilities in line with the evolving character of the warfare due to fast changes in technology to deter any aggression. Important statements at an important platform. Let's come to our last story, and that concerns the first images from the Indian tunnel. We had talked about this story a couple of days back as well, on how a lot of miners are trapped in this tunnel since the last couple of days. Now this is the 10th day that they are trapped in, but still no respite for these people who are trapped in the rubble. There are efforts that are going on, but those efforts have not really concretized in one way or the other. The first images have emerged of these 41 men trapped for more than a week in this highway tunnel in the Indian Himalayas, which shows that they are standing in the confined space and communicating with the rescue workers as well. They have been stuck in this 4.5 kilometer tunnel in Uttarakhand state since it caved in early on the 12th of November, and they are safe. This is what the authorities are telling us, with access to light, oxygen, food, water and medicine. But for how long will that access remain is a key question, and for that we need to take these people out. I hope the Indian authorities will do the needful to help those and to take them out of the tunnel and to take them to safety. This is what we all look for, taking people out of safety, whether it be in situations such as Gaza, whether it be in India as well. This is what we look forward to, a world where people can live in peace, a world where people can go on with their daily chores, with their families, with a smile on their face. This is not what I am seeing on millions of faces today. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. See you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Allah Hafiz.